So my biggest vice by far, my biggest temptation by far is food. When I was coming up on my journey, the main thing that held me back was my food intake, specifically candy. Candy was a huge temptation for me, but every single time I was faced with it, when it was in my house, or when it wasn't just candy, just any food that I knew I shouldn't eat, I knew I didn't have the calories to eat. Any single time I was faced with that food, instead of throwing it out like I knew I should do, I felt bad and I felt like I had to eat it because that was the good thing to do. That would make me a good person, and if I threw it out, that would be wasting it. And that's something that really held me back. My dad used to always buy me candy randomly on my journey. And that used to always piss me off because I either would be tempted and eat it, or it would just sit in my cabinet and nobody would eat it, because I would always feel bad if I were to just throw it out, because I felt like I'm wasting food. And it's that old sort of saying people say, there's kids starving in Africa. There are obese children in the United States. Obesity and world hunger, it's not a quantity of food problem, it's a distribution problem. There's enough food in the world for every single person to be nourished and to be full all the time and to stay at a healthy weight. It's a distribution problem, and there is no virtue in eating a bunch of junk food just because there's kids somewhere in the world that are starving. There's no virtue in that. And that's something that really held me back, because not only is eating a bunch of junk food inhibiting to a fitness journey, it's definitely not beneficial to fat loss, but the mental aspect of constantly giving into your temptations and feeling like you have to, that's a very toxic place to be in. And that's where self-sabotage starts. And it starts that downward spiral where you eat a little bit of junk food and you're like, maybe I can just have a little more. And then you've eaten enough where you're like, oh, I feel so guilty. What's even the point? Let me just eat more junk food and continue the spiral. And then you get to the end, you've had an extra 3,000 calories of complete junk food after you've already had your, 2,500 calories for the day. You've had 5,500 calories for the day, and you're like, man, I should have just had those few pieces of candy, or I should have just thrown it out to begin with. So I learned that lesson so you don't have to. You are not a garbage disposal. There is no virtue in you eating a bunch of junk food just because there's kids out there, there's people out there that are suffering from a lack of food. There's also people who are suffering from too much food. It's not your fault, and there's nothing you can do about it, specifically by eating junk food. Because the most virtuous thing you can do is to become the best version of yourself. You might think there's virtue in eating the junk food because there's kids out there starving, but the most virtuous thing you can do is become the best version of yourself and inspire the ecosystem that you live in, the people that you surround yourself with, your friend group. There's this great quote from Coach Carter. I've never seen the movie, but I saw this quote online where one guy stands up and he says, our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we will shine too bright and make people around us feel inferior. But that is a fallacy. The most inspiring thing, the most beneficial thing you can do for the people around you, if you truly want to change the people around you for the better, it starts with you. People won't change if there is no example in front of them. People need to see it firsthand what the benefits of what you claim to be beneficial are. They need to see it to believe it. So the only way for you to change the people around you is to change yourself. And the only way to truly impact the world to the greatest length is to become the best version of yourself. The most physically fit, the most intellectual, the most financially successful, and the most successful in really every aspect of life. There's so many different aspects of life that can cover. But my message here today is to think about the quote from Charlie Munger. He said, all I want to know is where I'm going to die and never go there. If you know what causes you to slip up, keep it away from you. And I know a lot of people slip up for that reason that I gave in the beginning, which is having junk food present and feeling guilty about throwing it away. So this is your permission slip to throw away all the junk food that you know you shouldn't eat, but the sole reason you're not throwing it away is because you feel guilty and you feel like you're a bad person. What's going to make you a worse person? Being a worse version of yourself that indirectly, subconsciously influences the people around you to feel more comfortable being inadequate, or becoming the best version of yourself, throwing out those Sour Patch Kids and inspiring the group around you to change their lives for the better as well. Only one of those outcomes is truly virtuous. The other one is coping. So I learned this lesson through years of fitness, through years of transforming my life, so you don't have to.